TheBlaze Radio Network. On demand.
The best of the Glenn Beck program.
Glenn Beck.
So we have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She continues to sound like a college student in an introduction to philosophy class full of misinformation and ridiculous analogies and downright mistruths. Oh, that's a nice word. Maybe in the old days when we used to call them lies. In a recent interview with PBS's Margaret Hoover, socialist... Oh, is that a racist comment? Why would you use a racist comment? No, not racist. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez called Israel the occupiers of Palestine. Now, she was really flexing that degree that she has in international relations from Boston University. Then there's this.
Well, I think the numbers that you just talked about is part of the problem, right? Because we look at these figures and we say, oh, unemployment is low, everything is fine, right? Well, unemployment is low because everyone has two jobs. Unemployment is low because people are working 60, 70, 80 hours a week and can barely feed their kids.
Okay. Now, those situations do exist in America. But as reported by PolitiFact, which awarded her the label of pants on fire on this one, on the Truthometer, the Bureau of Labor Statistics keeps track of how many people work two jobs rather than just one. And over the past 12 months, the number of multiple job holders has ranged between 6 and 7 million. That compares to more than 148 million Americans who are employed in a single job. The difference is, and not only outlandishly different from her claim, it is pretty wrong. Pretty wrong. If you look at the difference on a graph, in comparison to the number of single job holders, the portion of multiple job holders barely appears. It's not anywhere close. In other words, you're misleading people. No, there he goes again. Why doesn't he just say lie? She's arrogantly stating a lie as if it is an undeniable fact. Now, I want to give her the benefit of the doubt that she just believes this, that she doesn't think she's lying. She's just misinformed. Here's Margaret Hoover's measured response.
And so I do think that right now, when we have this no-holds-barred, Wild West hyper-capitalism, what that means is profit at any cost. Capitalism has not always existed in the world, and it will not always exist in the world. When this country started, we were not a capitalist. We did not operate on a capitalist economy.
You know, the benefit of capitalism is that you engage in voluntary trade, and that because it creates value, it is the system that, unlike all the others, has lifted more people out of poverty over the course of human history than any other system.
Well, so I think that those things that you talk about, that you discuss, are part of the course of human evolution. And so I would hope that the most recent economic system, our current economic system, is the one that is most beneficial for everyday people. But what we're also starting to see is that, first of all, I think that when we talk about socialist or especially democratically socialist economies, first of all, they're done with the full input of everybody. You vote. It's democratic. So if something is not a good idea, it doesn't get voted for, ideally.
Hitler was voted for. Hitler won an election. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? And I don't even understand your claim here that America was not founded as a capitalist society. What are you talking about? Wealth of nations. Now, see, you could say that she doesn't know anything about Israel. She could not answer the question on Israel. She got completely confused on it. Now, you could say, well, she probably doesn't know anything until you find out she has her degree in foreign relations. Then you could say, okay, well, she has her degree in foreign relations. She doesn't really know how the economy works, that you don't count. That's not how the unemployment number works. well, there's less people unemployed because they're working 2 jobs. That's not the way that works. Well, she doesn't know because she has her degree in foreign affairs. No, she also has another degree in economics. Was she listening in these classes? No, sorry. I know the answer to that. She was listening closely in those classes. This is the garbage that they teach. When will we have the courage to say, I'm sorry, I'm not sending my child to your university because it's completely corrupt? For some reason, I get the impression she's never set foot in a socialist country. The only thing that you have to say about Ocasio-Cortez is what she has to say. Listen.
What you've just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Oh.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Sorry, I thought that was from Billy Madison. I thought that was from the interview.
Glenn Beck.
What is going on in America? Can I give you some good news? This is the country that when the Soviets challenged us in space, we doubled down and we landed on the moon within a decade. Nobody thought it could be done. Yesterday's moonshot is today's oil rush. And the great thing is Americans are rising to the challenge the same way we did back in the 1960s. OPEC tried to kill us. This is really so underreported. OPEC and the Russians and the Saudis, they ramped up oil production back in 2014 to drive the frackers out of business. Sorry. Fracking is really effective, but it is also really expensive. At first, the plan was working until 2016, and then something happened in 2016. Oil rigs began coming back online. Oil production shot back up. OPEC was baffled. How are the Americans doing this? What is happening here? Answer: American ingenuity. We had invented technological breakthroughs that made fracking cheaper and more efficient. So now here's the results. Here's where we stand today. Remember, we're running out of oil and we're never going to, it's peak oil and blah, 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 blah. As of last month, U.S. oil production hit a record high. We are now pumping out 10.7 million barrels a day. We just leapfrogged the Saudis, who are putting out 10.4 million barrels a day. Russia is now number 1 at 11.1, but we're hot on their heels. U.S. production is set to be 12 million by next year. We will be the number 1 oil producer in the world by 2019. The days of being held hostage, the days of having to go to war for oil, they're over. And that's mainly because of Texas. The state of Texas alone is projected to put out 5.6 million barrels a day in the next 12 months. That's more than Iraq and Iran. In fact, if Texas were its own country, which I think it kind of is, it would be the number 3 oil producer in the world. Texas. We haven't even touched Alaska, California. So when people question American exceptionalism, look what we're doing, and we're not destroying the environment. We're not poisoning the fishes in the land. We figured out a better, easier way to do it. Politicians from our own country are rising with the socialist left. They're claiming now that we'd be better off with a different system. Tell me, what if anything has ever been accomplished under socialism or communism? Did the Soviet Union go to the moon? What is it that Venezuela has invented? China's a pretty big socialist communist country. Why aren't they knocking on the door of the world's largest oil producer? Why didn't they invent the smartphone or create the internet? Because there's something different about the Chinese. If there's any credibility to what these new American democratic socialists are saying, countries like China, Venezuela, Norway, even France, the UK should have accomplished way more than we have. But none of them have even come close. In fact, all those socialist countries are now sending us their sickest patients, even though our health care is a sick patient. It's all due to freedom. It's due to the free market. Square your shoulders, America. Take a bow. You're continuing to change the world and make it a better, safer, more efficient place, even under hostile conditions. Just one innovation at a time.
Glenn Beck.
Bill O'Reilly is on vacation in Ireland, and as he said last week, I'm going to be on vacation. I'm going to be in Ireland. I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff, so I'm not going to be able to have a chance to be on the show. But there's really only so much drinking you can do. So Bill is with us now. Hello, Bill.
You know I don't drink, Beck.
Well, you're in Ireland, so then why did you go?
Because we found an incredible thing. The actual farm where my ancestors were evicted in 1845,
wow,
which led them to come to America. And very emotional, and took years to track it. And it's in County Cavan, and that's where I was yesterday.
So that's it's amazing that, I mean, your family's been unpopular since 1845. That's
and what's even more amazing is the white privilege attached to being evicted from your land by the British for not being able to pay your taxes.
Yeah.
Putting two 16-year-old twin boys on a boat in Galway to sail to Brooklyn by themselves. Never saw their mother again, father dead. All that white privilege attached to that is just amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Tap it down just a bit there, Bill.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you. It's been a really interesting week. I would love to hear Bill O'Reilly's perspective. Just starting on Monday. Were you in Ireland then?
Yes,
yeah.
I was in Ireland. It's a good place to be because you can see it from another perspective. Mm-hmm. The Irish people couldn't care less, by the way, and I think that's generally around the world. They don't care about this story. There's actually two stories here, and the media, of course, never going to report either of them accurately. The first story is that the President of the United States really doesn't know what he thinks about Russia and Putin. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know.
Yeah, that's a problem. That is a problem.
So,
it's not the way you would be.
It's a problem for him. It's a problem for the country. It's a problem for everybody.
Right.
So he doesn't know, and he changes his perspective from hour to hour.
Yeah.
So that's story number one, why he doesn't know. And, of course, I know why he doesn't know.
Why doesn't he know?
And the story number two is the unprecedented hatred of the media, who really couldn't care less about Russia.
Right.
They don't care about it.
Right.
And they're using it as they use the border and the children. It's the same pattern of behavior. That's story number two. So where do you want to start?
I want to go back to story number one. Why doesn't the president know?
Number one, he is not steeped in the history of American-Russia relations. So he doesn't really know the dynamic that was in play from World War II onward.
Okay, that kind of happened in his lifetime.
He did, but he's a businessman. He's not a historian.
Well, you don't have to be. Hang on. You don't actually have to be a historian to know Boris and Natasha bad. Do you?
Okay, but it's more than that. He doesn't understand Vladimir Putin, who he is and what he wants. He can be told that, but feel it, as the kids would say. All right. Number two, his emotional makeup is tied in with the Russian accusation that they threw the election to him.
100% true.
It makes him insane.
Yep, 100% right.
It
drives him
insane.
It drives him. This is all this week has only been because he cannot separate the results of the election from anything said about Russia. He just can't do it. He thinks they're saying... he thinks that
you're reading my columns on BillO'Reilly.com, because that's absolutely correct.
Yeah, well, your column
I nailed that on Monday. He cannot separate what is happening in real time, as they say, from the accusation that he really didn't win the election. Putin won it for him. So therefore, he's going to diminish any kind of threat from Russia, all right? And he's going to say, I am going to make relations better between Russia and the United States. That's what's best for the country, which is true. But at the same time, you have to go out and state, it's so simple. When you're the president of the United States, you have to say the truth. You can't get away with saying, well, I don't know if the Russians hacked in. They did. You've got to say it. And when Putin says they didn't, all you say is, we have a difference of opinion on that. Period. You don't go in and insult Putin. You don't give him the Three Stooges under the chin and on top of the head. You don't do that, because you get nowhere. But you can say to the world, we have a difference of opinion, and be strong. President Trump chose not to do that on Monday in Helsinki, and that is what has led to all of the chaos.
So, Bill, what do you think of the theory that Donald Trump, and I want to be really careful here, because I'm not saying he has the killer instinct that Putin has, but Donald Trump has a lot in common with Vladimir Putin, as they're both businessmen in some way, in some regard. They both just get it done. They don't like red tape. One kills to get things done. But Donald Trump is a guy who, he's never killed, and I'm not saying it's mob or anything else, but he gets things done in New York that no one else can do. So he's kind of got that cowboy attitude. And so he kind of relates to Putin, and I think Putin Putin is smart enough to play into that with Donald Trump. Look, dude, I've been around for a long time, and I see what's happening, and you can't trust the press. And he'll play into that, and it has made me believe that there is when he is confused or not able to separate from the election, when he sees that the same people that are investigating this can find who hacked the DNC server, but can't even check the emails and have had them in their possession for a year. They can't seem to do anything that is at all connected with the DNC. But, man, they can nail the DNC server, guys, pretty efficiently and quickly. And they can sure say that there was collusion without any evidence. But there's nothing on all of the others. I think if Putin sat down with Trump and he just said, let me ask you this. Look, Donald, we didn't do this. And look, I can relate to you. Look, I'm trashed by the press and people have my enemies and we're different, but we're not all that different. Your real problem here is this Pakistani that was in Washington, D.C. that had the DNC servers. There's something going on there. Wouldn't Trump be more likely to say, yeah, damn it, yes, I know there is something there, and I can't get it from my intelligence service?
Okay, but that doesn't do Trump any good. The word that you're looking for to describe both Putin and Trump is ruthless, okay? And I'm not saying that President Trump is ruthless in the same way as Putin is.
Yes.
But in order to do what Trump has accomplished, you got to take no prisoners certain times.
Yeah, he was ruthless during the campaign. Ruthless.
Yeah, you saw it. You saw it. Okay, so they do have that in common. And they also don't want red tape. They don't want people telling them they're wrong.
Yeah.
They don't want challenges. There's a lot of commonality here. But what President Trump has to realize is that he's in a death march with the press. And here's the third story that has not been broken yet, but I'll break it on the Glenn Beck Radio Program.
Wow, live from Ireland.
President Trump is going to run again, but he's not going to really run against a Democrat. He's going to run against the press.
That's not news.
And the decision for the American people is, do we want to vote against Trump and empower a corrupt press that has tried everything to remove him from office? Or do we not like Trump so much, his style, and we understand that he's not in full grasp of some issues, but we're going to vote for him because we hate the press more. Trump is going to run against the American media in 2020. That's the third story to emerge this week.
All right. Stand by. Bill O'Reilly from Ireland. I'm just going to put him on hold for a while because I want him to pay for the long-distance charges. Because he's so rich, he won't even notice it. He really won't. Yeah. All right. So, Bill, let me go here. This is Andrea Mitchell yesterday with our intelligence director, Coates. Here's the audio of what happened as she was passed a note on stage. Listen.
We have some breaking news. The White House has announced on Twitter that Vladimir Putin is coming to the White House in the fall.
Say that again?
Vladimir Putin coming
Did I
to
hear
the...
you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to be special.
What do you think about the invitation for Vladimir Putin to come to the White House?
Well, first of all, Coates is one of the group that advises Trump on foreign policy and national security.
Right.
So he should have been given a heads up that this was in play, and he played it for laughs, which the president did not appreciate, by the way. So I don't know about Coates' future. Although he likes Coates, I don't think that did him any good, Coates. If Putin comes to Washington, I don't care. I don't think anybody cares. I do expect them to do some reduction of nuclear arsenal stuff. Does it matter? No. Both countries are going to keep enough nukes to blow the world up 50 times over, so that's just symbolic. Maybe they'll work out some trade deals. Maybe somebody will do something in the Middle East that's good for the world. There's no downside, but is it a major thing? No, it's not.
So, Bill, you just said the president doesn't know about these things. And what's given me confidence is at the very beginning, he had real bad people around him. But the bad people have really pretty much left, and he has really good advisors around him. That now you can say he has some of the best people around him. But he doesn't seem to listen to them. Or, as you said, Coates should have known that. The president's just going off on his own. And, I mean, a president can do that.
Yeah, because he doesn't feel that he has an obligation, if somebody's in Aspen, Colorado, to track the person down and tell him that. So is it a big thing? No. But it always works against Trump. The word is methodical. Obama was methodical. And Trump is the so opposite of that. He just operates on, all right, we're going to do this, or we're going to do that. And I don't know, there's got to be more discipline imposed on the Oval Office, but there isn't anybody who can really do that. So that's the flaw in the Trump administration, the lack of discipline, the lack of messaging, and it all leads to this nonstop hatred directed at him, at Trump, which I believe Americans have had quite enough of. When I saw that Whoopi Goldberg, Jeanine Pirro thing yesterday, I know both of those women really well. And I've, for years have had a pretty constructive dialogue with Whoopi Goldberg. and Janine I know from working at Fox.
Okay, so I want to take this. Hang on, I want to take this when we come back. I'm going to play that audio because it's amazing, and then get your comment. So Janine Pirro, how do you say her last name? Pirro. Janine Pirro was on The View yesterday. She had she has a new book out, and Whoopi Goldberg kind of lost her cool. Janine said, you have Trump derangement syndrome, and here's what happened.
How long has the deep state been there, and who's running it?
Well, I want to answer your question because you had
you a question.
You had your opening statement, which was how horrible it is that Donald Trump is talking about all of these people.
Sorry,
you know what
that's
I
what
think
you
is
said.
horrible?
You said
that
when
people
it's okay.
be here end up murdering the children of American citizens.
You know what's horrible? When the president of the United States whips up people to beat the hell out of people. Say goodbye.
Oh, so that went on for a while, and I don't think you need to know about much more of that. Then, after the commercial break, Whoopi came back and said this.
Is out now. We will be right back. So, welcome back. So you saw me do something I very rarely do. I very rarely lose my cool, and I'm not proud of it. I don't like it. But I also don't like being accused of being hysterical, because that's one of the things I try not to be on this show.
Right. Okay. So she only became hysterical because she doesn't like being called hysterical. Which works for me.
That's pretty accurate. The other time she became hysterical is when she walked out on me.
That's right.
Remember that?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
When I was on the program, they both left the stage, and Barbara Walters had to take over. And I was so happy. I said, "This is great." If we could get them permanently off, that would be great. But the real problem here was after the show, when she confronted Janine Pirro, who was trying to leave the ABC building in Manhattan, and said, "Get the F out of the building." That's unacceptable.
She didn't just say that. She didn't just say that. She spit on Janine.
Well, I don't know about that. I wasn't there. I mean, she was
Those are the reports today.
Yes, but we have to be, very methodical. Mm-hmm. I know she said, "Get the F out of the building."
Yes.
I know that to be true.
Yes.
I don't know about any spittle. Mm-hmm. But ABC has an obligation to stop this. And I'll tell you why. Because somebody's going to get killed. And the media chieftains have got to know that critical mass has been reached and someone is going to get hurt. Could have happened yesterday when Maxine Waters' crew, and I have dealt with those people before, showed up looking for a physical confrontation with some people who don't like Maxine Waters. The people didn't show up. So instead, Maxine Waters' crew hauled an American flag off a truck and burned it. The next step is physical violence and someone getting killed. The media chieftains, the people who run ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, and Fox, have got to say, no more hate. If you're going to hate, don't show up for work. I would suspend Whoopi Goldberg for a week for what she did, because it is unprofessional. It is un-American. I don't care whether you disagree with Janine Pirro, and whatever you say. But don't threaten the woman after the show is over. That is not
quite honestly
behavior.
Quite honestly, Bill, I mean, I don't know who watches this stuff. Whoopi Goldberg yesterday, that was Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer is so. You were Jerry Springer.
Yeah, you know who watches. They do about 2.5 million people, which is nothing. All right, that's the same thing the audience at late night is. About 2.5 to 3 million. That's all they're doing. All right, it's enough to make money. They play to a crew. All right, there's not one conservative or traditional American watching The View. It's all left, far left people. That's what it is. It's that way late night. It's that way dayside. It's that way cable. All right? No longer do you have a show like Johnny Carson where everybody can watch it, or Jay Leno. No. It's now polarized. But the hatred is so intense now, not only toward President Trump, but anyone who would support President Trump is now deemed to be the target of invective and threats. Anybody supporting President Trump is fair game to be harmed in this country.
So
that has got to stop.
So can I ask her for some personal advice here, Bill? Because you like mixing it up with people. I don't. I really don't. I was the kid in the family. I grew up in an alcoholic family that, just tried to make everybody laugh. Hey, everything's okay. Look over here. Look over here. And so I really don't like confrontation. And I obviously picked the wrong job to do. But I'm getting all kinds of pressure. I mean, unbelievable pressure from my publisher. You got to go on The View when your book comes out. And I'm like, I have nothing to say to these people. They're not going to listen. The audience isn't going to buy the book. What are you talking about? Why would I put myself in that situation? They are incapable of having a conversation with someone who disagrees with their worldview. They just want to put every wrong that anybody on the right has ever done onto your shoulders.
Well, first of all, your publisher is ridiculous. I have a book coming out the same day your book's coming out, September 18th.
Right.
Killing the SS.
Are you going?
I'm not going to go on The View. No.
Oh, you used to. Oh, wow, you used to.
I used to, but it's now totally different. Behar was always a problem. Always. Behar hated you if you weren't a liberal.
Yes.
From the jump.
Yes.
But Barbara Walters, even Goldberg, and the other lady they had, and it was an interchangeable thing, they were all right. And Walters, because she ran the show, could temper Joy Behar. So you could do it. You could get on there, have a few laughs, make fun of them. My great line of Joy Behar was, "Isn't your name Joy? Aren't you supposed to be joyful?" That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can't do it. So you go on Colbert or you go on any of these shows, they're going to attack you personally. Personal attacks. That's what they're going to do. Because their audience apparently wants to see that. And some of the right-wing guys on talk radio, they do the same thing. All right? They tear you to pieces with innuendo, with accusation, if you don't see the world the way they see it. So it's got to stop. And the only one who can stop it are the media chieftains, the people who run the organizations. And I'm telling you, it's going to get violent. It is heading there. Never in the history of our republic has there been hatred directed at a president that we're seeing now. Ever.
Abraham Lincoln.
No.
Yes.
And I'll tell you why that's not true. Because Abraham Lincoln was in a war. He was fighting a war. So you would expect that the side that he's fighting against are going to try to kill him, which they ultimately did.
All right. I'll give you that.
This isn't there is no physical war happening.
Yes.
So no president has faced this kind of, and it's organized. It's an organized hatred between Hollywood, New York, running the news media, and the print media.
Wait a minute.
Three of them.
I don't believe that there's you're not saying that that they're calling each other up and organizing. It's just that they all are walking in lockstep. They all just believe the same thing.
No, but they're not walking in lockstep. They're being ordered, subtly ordered to get Trump.
Who is ordering
them?
The
New York Times and the Washington Post. Look, the Washington Post runs an op-ed by Joe Scarborough yesterday. What? Why? Why? For what reason? Scarborough is making money hating Trump, which is exactly what he did in the op-ed. Now, if I called up the Washington Post and said, look, I'd like an op-ed, because I don't – never in a million years
Correct.
Would I get that.
Correct.
Okay? So the message goes out. Get him. Get him. And all of the people have the message. If you go on CNN – if you're Cuomo at 9 o'clock and go, you know what? President Trump did something really good today, and I want to tell you about it. You're toast. All right? You're toast. You can't do it. So to give Fox some credit, they do have people on their air anchoring programs who do slam Trump. So this accusation that Fox News does whatever Trump wants is a lie. But the others are in lockstep, to use your word.
So, Bill, what happens? Because when I saw the reaction on Monday of the press, and I saw that they came out, and this week they're saying this is as bad as Pearl Harbor or Kristallnacht.
I know. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. Look, think back. Since the Vietnam War, the Democratic Party has not favored confrontation with a foreign nation one time. They went along with the Saddam Hussein stuff because of 9/11. But there isn't one time that the Democratic Party has favored confrontation with a foreign power. Mm-hmm. All right? Ask Ronald Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Mm-hmm. But now, suddenly, the Democratic Party wants to invade Siberia. Nancy Pelosi is going to land on that beach, and they're going to run in and take care of Putin. Are you blanking kidding me? Okay? So anybody who knows anything about American politics knows there's one thing only in play here. Get Trump out of office. That's it. Not about Putin, not about Crimea, not about anything else. Get him out. If you got to use the kids on the border, you use the kids on the border. You got to use Putin in Helsinki, that's what you do. And next week it'll be something else, Beck. It'll be something else. And it all comes back to get him out.
So, Bill,
he embarrassed us. He won the election. We were all against him. We, the media, are not going to tolerate. We're going to destroy him.
Well, they're not
That's
going
what
to.
happened to me on Fox News.
I know, but they're not going to destroy him. And in fact, I think they're going to end up destroying themselves in the process because
Trump's going to run against them in 2020.
Yeah, and he will win because people I've never seen a situation where someone can take a bully and make him look like he's the victim. And that's what the press has done. I mean, Donald Trump is ruthless. He's ruthless. But to a lot of Americans, they're looking at this fight and they're like, you're so unreasonable, unhinged. You've gone crazy. I'm with him. I've never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it.
What you just said is 100% correct, and I am stunned in Dublin, Ireland, that Glenn Beck has put it so eloquently.
Well, so Bill, I've been reading your book, and I will tell you, it's really, really good. It's a frustrating book to read because it's one of those books that you read and you want to read with Google because you're like, it's Bill O'Reilly book, that can't be right. And it's taking me off into all kinds of offshoots. It's really good. I can't wait for it to come out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Killing the SS is about evil. And we're seeing evil in our world today, unprecedented, except for the period of time that I'm writing about in Killing the SS. And I just want to remind everybody, like you said, it's a Bill O'Reilly book. There are 17 million copies of the Killing series in print. 17 million. So we stand by every word that we have ever written. And, these people are jealous and they don't like me or they don't like whatever. But I appreciate you reading the book. I know how busy you are, Beck, doing what you do.
Yeah, well, it's good. Killing the SS comes out September 18th from Bill O'Reilly, joining us from some bar, maybe. No. What?
Don't let the people think I'm some lush. I don't drink.
You're Irish.
I know, but I don't drink and I don't take narcotics. I just kind of live my life.
I don't know, man. I can see you in a public restroom down by the toilet shooting heroin. I mean, think of that. In your suit. I can see that. Bill O'Reilly,
Nobody
thanks.
would sell it to me, Beck.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, we'll see you next week.
You got it. Bye-bye.
Glenn Beck.
Let's start with Jeremy and Julie Lewis, who are Texans who a summer 8 years ago It was in August. Their 7-year-old son died from something that appears to be very, very rare. And when it does happen, people don't necessarily have the answers, and it shouldn't necessarily end in death as it did here. Jeremy and Julie Lewis, welcome to the program. How are you?
Good, Mr. Beck. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. First of all, sorry for the loss of your son. I can't imagine what it is like to lose a child. I hope I never have to find out. You guys were just enjoying a regular summer, and what happened?
We decided to take one last trip, and we visited 2 spots. We visited a lake and a river in Texas, and it was. We've said before that it was one of the best vacations that we've ever taken. When we got home, Kyle started 2nd grade. He went to school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We had a baseball scrimmage. He played one of the best baseball games he'd ever played in his life. And then Thursday morning, he woke up with a headache, and it progressed to high spiky fevers, vomiting, which just, that's something normal kids get. They just get colds. And originally that's what we thought it was, and until it wasn't. And we decided our pediatrician told us to take him into the emergency room, and they did. And immediately they could tell something was a little more wrong than just a cold. So they decided to quarantine him. And then from there, it progressively got worse.
How long was this process?
We went in on Thursday night. Julie took Kyle to Cook Children's Hospital in Fort Worth on Thursday night, and he was gone Sunday morning at 11:11.
Oh my gosh! So go ahead.
That's the thing about this amoeba and the PAM, and it acts so quickly that. One of the other fathers of a child that they lost in Florida, he said it best. He said, when you realize what it is, it's too late. Or it was for us, because back then, 7 years ago, we didn't have the drug that we have now. But it's devastating. If anybody knew Kyle the way that we knew Kyle, his hair was on fire, and you couldn't hold the kid down unless you duct taped him to a tree. Which I actually did. But it takes these kiddos, and it's horrible. Like you said, you hope you never have to go through it. It's worst case scenario. We're not supposed to bury our kids. It's devastating.
So there's a special done by a friend of mine who is producing this special, Darren Foster, who used to produce for me eons ago. He's doing this medical miniseries on HLN, and it premieres Sunday, and it's Something's Killing Me, and it's these medical mysteries that we're able to find now, or we're able to cure, that have been plaguing us for quite some time. Julie, are you there?
I am.
So can you tell me, as a mom, what was this, and what happened?
To us, we thought he maybe just had a cold or a flu, and then that evening when they told me he might have viral meningitis, we thought he was going to sleep it off and maybe get medication and go home and become the rambunctious boy again that we knew. But everything changed that Sunday morning, and they didn't actually find this amoeba until after he had passed away.
Really?
And our world changed forever at that moment.
And they didn't have the drug then, but they do now?
No. They do now, yes. There's been lots of studies for many, many years, and there were some things that did help to kill the amoeba, but it's such rapid destruction that it wasn't timely enough, and it's fatal.
So this amoeba actually eats the brain?
It multiplies itself and destroys the brain.
And how did it get into Kyle? Through the river, or?
Well, we know it's present in the river and the lake that we were in, present in most fresh bodies of water, but it goes up, if it gets up the nose through the olfactory nerve, it's when it starts its destruction.
That makes me never want to get into a river or a lake again.
Yeah. We grew up in Texas, and we were always in a lake. We were always in a river. I was in a cattle pond. It's never something you think about. But after we learn, one of the taglines that everybody always uses is that it's so rare, it's so rare. And in the grand scheme of things, when you look at how many cases have been correctly identified, it is. I'll go along with that. But what's even scarier, Glenn, is that when these kids go into the hospitals, the doctors have no idea. They're not thinking about it because their whole life, their whole medical career, all they've heard and all they've ever been told is that it's so rare.
So that's so that's what I was kind of asking Julie or Jeremy, whichever one can answer this, is how did it manifest itself that a parent could see, wait a minute, this is something different?
It's one of those things. We were in the hospital and we got a text message from Julie's mom, and she's Saturday mid-morning. She actually said, "Look, you guys were in fresh bodies of water. These are his symptoms." She found it on Google, and she said, "This is it." When we were in the hospital on Saturday afternoon, Glenn, I showed the phone, my wife's phone, to the doctor, and the doctor looked at us and said, "Mr. and Mrs. Lewis, if your son had this, he would already be dead." 24 hours later, my son is gone. And so what I was saying earlier is that it goes misdiagnosed far greater than it goes correctly diagnosed, because you literally have 3 to 4 days in the hospital before anybody knows what's going on. The kid's already so far lost that nobody can do anything. Kyle was in the hospital on Sunday, and he lost brain activity at 5:30 or 6 in the morning. They didn't find the amoeba in his spinal fluid until around 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
Wow.
And so one of our other deals that the foundation has done is, and we had help from other foundations in Florida, we found this drug in the CDC. We found this drug that the CDC had. It was just one of those things to where there was so much red tape that the CDC had to go through and positively identify it and then get the drug. Well, but like I just said, by the time you positively identify it, it's too late. So we found the drug in Canada. We found out that it was going to be coming to the U.S. Our foundation and another foundation have successfully put that medication, which is miltefosine, in how many states?
I don't know, but I think it's like 20 different hospitals.
20 different hospitals in 6 or 7 states. And the reason we wanted to do that is we started an initiative that if we can go in as a nonprofit organization, as the parents, then what we want is, I wanted a star basically in the United States. I wanted one in the north, 1 or 2 in Texas, 1 or 2 in Florida, and 1 or 2 in California, and then somewhere in the middle of the U.S. And we have that. We have California, we have Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, South Carolina, North Carolina, Colorado, and now Nebraska.
Okay, I've got to move on. I hate to do this to you, but Jeremy and Julie, thank you so much for taking something really tragic and making it into something good. You can find out more about what they're doing, and you can help and find out more about this at KyleCares.com. KYLE cares.com. I really quickly, we have Dr. Jennifer Cope on with us, and I just quickly want to get the doctor's perspective on this, on what the difference is, what people should look for. We have Dr. Cope on with us now. Doctor, how are you? Jennifer, are you there?
I am.
Hi.
I am.
Yes. So welcome to the program. So how, Jeremy was saying, they're saying it's rare, but it's probably misdiagnosed. Is this something we should be worried about when we get our kids into the river and to the lakes?
Well, it's certainly something. Fortunately, it is a very serious illness, as you heard from the Lewises, and we certainly empathize with them at the loss of their son. We fortunately just see a handful of cases each year. But because of the seriousness of it, we do think it's something people should be aware of when they do get into the water in the summer. And there are a few things that people can do to potentially minimize the risk of contracting this amoeba.
Like what?
Well, the only absolute way to really to keep from getting this amoebic infection is to keep your head out of the water, because as you heard, the water, the amoeba gains access to the body when water goes up the nose and into the brain. So really the only way is to keep the head above water. But we realize that there are a lot of activities that involve putting the head underwater, as well as, things where water gets up the nose. And so some things you can do to minimize the water getting up the nose is either holding your nose or using nose clips when you're doing those types of activities. The other thing is, if you're going into the other body of water you might want to think about is hot springs. This is an amoeba that really thrives in warm water. So is
this like if you're going up to, let's say, the Finger Lakes or the Great Lakes, and or especially the Finger Lakes where it gets really, really cold, does this amoeba die in cold? Is it only in hot, warmer climates, or is this all over the country?
Well, it really thrives in those warmer water temperatures. When in colder water temperatures, it doesn't necessarily die. It has a couple life forms, and it becomes, in colder and less favorable conditions, it becomes a cyst form. And that cyst can persist. That allows it to withstand those harsher conditions. And so when the water becomes warm again, it could come back to life in the form where it does infect people. But we do think it's during the warmer weather seasons in the warmer parts of the country, although we have seen it in more northern states.
And
recently.
so we don't have a bunch of people taking their sick kids to the hospital saying, I've got an amoeba that's eating my brain. Are there any specific signs that you look for?
Well, really, so unfortunately, there's not a specific sign. What it would be is a type of meningitis, which has general symptoms of headache, nausea, vomiting that are obviously very common to a number of different illnesses.
The big thing with spinal meningitis, though, is is it sore? Is it hurt to turn your head? And that's a big sign that sets it apart. Is there anything like that?
That is certainly a part of any type of meningitis, although that's maybe a little bit of a later sign, and something that, not everyone experiences. The key would be if your child or you develop those sort of symptoms and you're seeking medical attention, the key is to mention that you might have had water exposure in the past few days or week. So at least this diagnosis can be considered.
Okay, just a personal question here. You're an infectious disease doctor at the CDC. At what point in your life did you go, I want to specialize in infectious diseases? It just does not sound, safe. It just doesn't sound safe.
Well, believe it or not, there's a lot of us that really do enjoy the study of infectious diseases.
I'm sure there are. I'm wondering what attracted you to. I mean, do you go do you study things like Ebola and everything else?
Obviously the CDC studies that. That's not my particular area of study, but during that time, a number of us at the agency did participate in that response.
Jeez, God bless you. I mean, thank you for doing things that most of us would never do. Thank you for that, Dr. Jennifer Cope with the CDC. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. By the way, you watch this is a new medical mystery series called Something's Killing Me with B.D. Wong. It's Sunday, 8 p.m. only on HLN. And again, the Lewis Foundation for Kyle, that's really doing some amazing stuff, is kylecares.com.
Glenn Beck.
The best of the Glenn Beck Program.
Glenn Beck.
The best of the Glenn Beck Program.